Hey there, it's Melissa Brunetti, and welcome to the Mind Your Own Karma podcast.
Hey there, Karma crew. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Mind Your Own Karma, the Adoption Chronicles. And today we're going to kind of do a little throwback vibe on this podcast today, back to my first season where I talk about living authentically and discovering yourself and how to live a life that you love. And I know this time of year, sometimes it's difficult for adoptees and you don't feel like you're living a life that you love. And so I just wanted to give out a little reminder today on this quick episode. I know there's a lot of people going back to work after the holidays, and it can just feel like a big blah. So I hope this episode is encouraging to you. Also, if you have been struggling through the holidays, go back to last week's episode and listen to many of the adoptees that I talked to last year, and they have some advice for you on what got them through when they were struggling. So I invite you to go back and listen to that if you are still having the blahs after the holiday season. And if you find yourself needing a little more help, then reach out to me. There are so many resources out there to help you. You can email me at mindyourownkarma@gmail.com. But getting back to today's podcast, it's that time of year where many of us make resolutions, and I'm not really a resolution person, but I do like to take things as they come during the year and just continually make changes that feel good to me. And I don't always succeed, but I do try to keep myself moving in a positive direction. And today I just wanted to bring up a few things, some good reminders to think about at a time when many of us are self-evaluating and making these resolutions. And if you aren't listening to this during the new year, that's even better because there's never any coincidences, and you are hearing this message today because you were meant to hear it. So I was on social media the other day and I saw another quote that I just loved and I thought was just perfect for the new year. And the quote said that we should shed the shoulds. And I just love that idea of shedding saying I should and replacing it with I want to, or I feel like, or something that is going to give you a more positive mindset. And if you find yourself saying I should a lot, as soon as you recognize that thought coming into your mind, just stop and check in. And check in and see, how does that phrase feel in your mind, body, and spirit? And see if that's really something that you are wanting to do or something that you are feeling pressured to do by someone, or maybe you're anticipating some kind of reaction and so you act a certain way. And all those I shoulds do is it sets us up for probably a lot of anger and resentment. Feeling the pressure to do something never feels good, does it? So let's embrace a new vibe that's more about what we genuinely want. Let's decide to be authentic. It's not necessarily just about the language that we use, although how we say things to ourselves and others can definitely change the mindset, which does change outcomes most of the time. But it's more about reclaiming your choices and what you genuinely want. A lot of adoptees feel that if they check in and follow what they want, that they are being selfish and possibly hurtful towards someone that they care about. But what about you? What about you, adoptee? What happens when you don't feel right about a situation, but you do it anyway because you feel that obligation? And I can only speak for myself, but when I do that and I compromise my own authenticity in that way, I get angry. And I feel like I should be angry at that person that let me down or whatever the situation is. But if I really think about it, in actuality, I need to be angry with myself because I let myself down. I knew it didn't feel right, and I compromised my feelings and that knowing inside of me. and I allowed it to happen anyway. And that's on me. That's my fault. And that just makes me even doubly mad that I let myself down. I mean, we get enough of that in the world outside of ourselves. So to let ourselves down is really not a great feeling. And I've previously on other episodes talked about metaphorically writing your own story and being the author of your own story and how you can change your story at any moment in time. And I've challenged you to take your pen back if you've given that pen to someone else to write your story. But sometimes we still have that pen in our hands and we just decide to write a different story because of the reaction or the outcome that might possibly occur if we didn't write the story a certain way. Even if it doesn't feel good to us, we don't want to hurt anyone. We don't want to feel that guilt, that shame. We don't want to feel anyone angry at us. We don't want to feel that abandonment. So we sacrifice our authenticity, thinking that in the long run, that's going to be better for us. But you know what? Sometimes the things that used to work for us in the past, if you really think about it, just aren't working for you right now. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound and it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. You're just prolonging the change that needs to be made. Maybe 2024 is the time to rip the Band-Aid off and decide that we're going to look at ourselves and we're going to live authentically. And when we take our pen back and write our story authentically, when we shed the shoulds, we're freeing ourselves from this imaginary rule book that society and our circumstances has handed us that has helped us survive all these years up until today. And suddenly, life becomes less about obligations and more about steering your own ship. In other words, more about minding your own karma. That's what authenticity is, which is how it should be. And when you are authentically you and you operate from that space, people's reactions to how you move in the world just aren't your problem anymore. Let me say that one more time because adoptee, it's important to hear. When you are authentically you and operate from that space, people's reactions to how you move in the world just aren't your problem. You aren't personally attacking anyone when you operate from an authentic space. You are doing what feels right to you, and that is not selfish. That's self-care. That's self-love. Adoptees are so worried about not stepping on toes that we forget that we have toes too, and we allow everyone to step on them. They're not trying to hurt us, but we teach people how to treat us. And if we don't lay some boundaries down, people don't know it's not okay to step on you. You could come up with all kinds of excuses, like they should have known that that would have hurt me, but ultimately it's up to you to stop the pain. Trust me, I am not saying that any of this is easy, and boy, am I right there in the thick of it with all of you right now. As I'm saying this, I'm saying it to myself because I need to hear it every once in a while too. I need to hear it. I need that reminder that my authentic self is worth expressing to other people, that I'm keeping my true self from them if I'm not being authentic to myself. And that's not fair to anyone, but especially to myself. We were put here for a purpose, and if we don't act authentically, we aren't going to find that purpose because you were made specifically for that purpose. And operating from that authenticity is going to bring you to your purpose. If you stop and think about your life and you think about some of your life choices that you aren't necessarily happy about, I can almost guarantee that those choices were not made from an authentic space. It was from a space of I should, or I have to, or some of that negative talk. It wasn't from a space of checking in. It wasn't from a space of asking yourself if this is what you want in life. It was probably more out of a place of pressure and reaction than authenticity. But the good thing is that those things can change. You can change those things. And it might feel scary. It might feel daunting. It might feel hard to make those changes. And if you're not ready, that's okay. But just know that you can rewrite your story at any time. There's another chapter. There's more pages that could be added to the book, so don't worry about it. Be kind and compassionate to yourself, and just to be aware going forward of checking in with yourself more so that you can make more authentic choices and little by little start living that life that you love. Start small, go outside and just take in a big breath of fresh air and just notice how that feels in your body and how good that feels. Just start with the little things. I was on TikTok earlier today and Brene Brown came up and she said there's a lot of things that she will negotiate, but her authenticity and who she is not one of those things. Who she is non-negotiable, and it doesn't matter what anyone says about her or thinks about her. It just doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to any of us. If someone loves you and is supposed to be in your life and is part of your tribe, they will adjust. They will adjust because what's important to you will be important to them as well. There very well may be an adjustment period, but in the end, who you are should be non-negotiable. It shouldn't matter what anyone's opinion is. Non-negotiable. Who I am is who I am. Period. And if it feels good, write that on a sticky note and stick it all over the house so that you see that who you are is non-negotiable and that is okay. So let's just make a mental note that when we catch ourselves saying I should, that we stop and check in and see if we can change how we feel by maybe changing the phrasing of what we're saying. So instead of saying I should, how does I want to, or better yet, I love, I choose to? How does that feel? And if it does feel better, that little shift can empower you to take ownership of your decisions and how you react. Can you see how it gives you your power back to say, I choose? Can you feel that difference in your body, that shift, when you go from I should to I choose to? It shifts like the entire focus from an external bad feeling expectation that just doesn't feel good in our body, mind, and spirit to something that actually feels much better. And it shifts the energy to our internal motivation and what we really want, which allows us to live more authentically. So next time you have the urge to say, I should, if you feel that creeping in, just consider opting for a more liberating, a more powerful type of language that reflects how you're feeling and your true self. Because life's too short for unnecessary shoulds. Let's keep it chill and genuine. So let's just ditch the constant use of I should as like giving yourself a linguistic makeover that can just transform your mindset, really. It's like saying, arrivederci to the subtle guilt trip that you didn't even sign up for. So, and arrivederci means goodbye in Italian. So you're saying arrivederci to that subtle guilt trip that you didn't sign up for. So I want you to get in the habit of checking in with yourself starting today and ask yourself, what shoulds am I still operating from? What things am I still allowing in my life that no longer serve me because I'm afraid of how someone's going to react? And just take inventory. Just take inventory. I want you to start choosing you every day. I want you to start choosing what feels good and what feels truly authentic to you. I want you to stop acting from a reactive place and instead react from a real and genuine place. In the journey of self-discovery, the path to fulfillment begins when we decide to prioritize our own happiness and our own growth. You have to prioritize that. And your journey begins with self-love. And from there, you radiate the strength to shape your destiny and create a life that reflects the brilliance of your true, authentic self. That is where happiness and a sense of coming home is, in your authentic self. You know, we've all heard the saying, choose you, because if you're not happy, ain't nobody happy. And that is the truth. So thank you for joining me today for this short episode of Mind Your Own Karma. And as always, take what you need and leave what you don't. And always remember to mind your own karma. I'll see you next time. Hey there, Karma Crew. This was the first episode of Season 3 of Mind Your Own Karma. So many things happening here at Siren Tale Studios. We are opening up the interviews to more of birth families and first parents, and also including adoptees. Still, of course, we want to get the full story out there so that we can educate the world about adoption. If you are an adoptee and you would like to come on and tell your story, get in touch with me. If you have a birth parent or an adoptive parent that would like to also come on and tell their story, let's do it. We are educating the world this season with Mind Your Own Karma. And it's an incomplete education if we don't give all sides of the story out to the world. Also, if you are struggling to make the changes in your life that you are wanting to change and can't figure out why, or you are struggling with adoption trauma, I am now a Somatic Mindful Guided Imagery practitioner and would love to work with you on whatever it is that is keeping you from living that life that you love. Just go to somatichealingjourneys.com for more information. I hope to work with you soon.